Yo, 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 yo. CMPradio.net, man. You already know this is the wonderful world of Rich Blye. And I have my guest, my brother, my colleague. Listen, I don't do all the fighting no more, man. I let the good brother have his way. What's going on, Rich? How you feeling?
Good evening. I'm feeling great, bro. It's good to be back here in the great city of Chester, the first city. Yes. Want to say thank you to CMPradio.net for having me back.
Absolutely, bro.
For having me back, man.
I don't close doors, bro. I don't close doors. I know things pop up. People, when you're ready, I'm here.
Oh, absolutely, man. Just had to take some time off to really get some things into perspective, prepare for the holiday that just passed with Juneteenth, and a lot of different things that's been going on with us, with our community, both collectively and as individuals, have really taken its toll since November. Right. Since the last election, we really had to get busy for the past 8 or 9 months as a community, notwithstanding who was elected, but more the circumstances behind Trump getting elected, where we had to get busy as a community. So it's been really, really one of those years, to say the least.
It isn't even over yet.
Oh man,
the year is just halfway through,
man. But we look at this, man. We breeze. I'm gonna tell you like this: from four years ago, when we first met,
right?
It seems like the first 6 months of this year just went snap, crackle, pop, poof.
Right.
One moment we were dealing with a lot of, sickness and coming from out of uncertainty with COVID and everything. Now we're dealing with real human life issues and dealing with humanity. And it's causing a lot of people who I believe that were calling and looking at things to separate are now coming together because we're in a period of common sense.
Right.
I really
common sense isn't too common up there at the White House.
Well, it's not common at the White House. It's not common in the Senate. It's not common in the House, and it's not common in the State House. It's not common in the State Senate. It's not common in some of our local municipalities, cities, and towns, because we have to remember that all of these individuals that we voted for, all of them are flawed. All of them. Just like the Word of God says, we've all fallen short of the glory. Yes, we all have sinned to some degree, and we all have some differences about us that make us unacceptable to humanity. So it also says that before you cast that first rock, judge yourself.
Right.
So, I say this again. There are a lot of people who I have not met that I cannot say I hate or dislike because I've never had the opportunity to meet them. But I also have said that there are some people that I know locally that are supposed to be in support of people who are not. And I'm held to a standard because I do not support that.
Right.
I don't care about your title. I care about your humanity.
That's real.
So let's talk about why I'm back. I'm back, everybody.
Yes, he is.
The first thing that I want to start off with is that I really want to thank God for the life that I have, for the health that I have, for the strength that I have, and for the blessing that He has continuously given to me and shown to me, even through some of the pressures and constants of life that we all go through and the tragedies. I want to thank Him for the gift of the Holy Spirit to be able to discern between evil and the goodness of people as we traverse this difficult terrain that we call life on this planet, because there are a lot of people that wish us well, and then there's some people that wish us to hell. And we have to, thank God for that gift of discernment when it comes to dealing with humanity, because again, we live in a different state of being in the world. So let's recap. Let's recap the month of June. First of all, I want to start off and say to everyone, happy Juneteenth, happy Flag Day, and for the United States Army, happy birthday. These were 3 significant points in the month of June. celebration with the United States Army 250th anniversary. That is the branch of service that my father served in, and the branch of service that many of my uncles served in, and also the branch of service that my brother Brian Sharif Taylor, deceased, served in. So I have a great respect for the Army and all of the branches of our United States Armed Forces. So I want to salute all veterans for this month by saying thank you for your service, past, present, and those who are currently in there in the future. You are the backbones to our freedom. I salute you, and I thank you very much for being there for me and everything. Oh, wait a minute, hold on. I just got a shout out. Let's not forget the anniversary of D-Day, the D-Day anniversary, folks. Part of the reason why I want to come on and talk about this show is the largest landing in history, by the way, D-Day. You hear it in the Marine song, the shores of Normandy, the halls of Montezuma, the shores of Normandy. These young men sacrificed their lives at a point in time with this beach landing to really combat the Axis powers and to stop the communism and the fascism of that time. So it's important to remember the history, and we're going to get into remembering history as I talk about Juneteenth. But for the month of June, thank you, veterans, for your service and for your sacrifices. And for the families of veterans, I want to say thank you for your service and for your sacrifice as well. Why do I say that? Because when a veteran goes through something both positive and negative, you're right there with it too. You are right there with it too. And respectfully, we need to recognize the fact that, number one, Delaware County does have veteran services available for veterans, okay? We have a Delco Veterans Affairs Office in Media.
Do you know Chaplain Cohen?
Yes, I know Chaplain Cohen.
I just sent him an email. I just saw that he had DM'd me and asked me he wanted to come through and talk about the services that are offered to veterans. I told him, absolutely, hit me up. I sent him my phone number, so. Yes,
Chaplain Cohen. Chaplain Cohen is someone who has worked diligently as a pastor and as a chaplain. He has also served in the United States military as well. He's also been an excellent source of information for veterans. So if he wants to come onto this show, he absolutely needs to get himself up here. I know Chaplain Copeland, so it's a good look for what he does for veterans. If you cannot reach him, you can go see the Veterans Affairs up in Media, and Colonel Jenkins is the head of Veterans Affairs. I would suggest to anybody that's doing anything as far as your event space, that if you're looking to have someone from that office come out and bring veteran service related materials for our veterans and their families. I keep stressing, and their families. There's a lot of updated information to widows, children, and grandchildren of veterans. There's a lot of openings. There's a lot of preferred services. We need to take advantage of them and get out of the past and break the generational cycles of not getting our veterans up to speed with the things that they need, provided they gave their sacrifice for you to be here. Let's help them now that they're post-service to get them up to speed and have value in our community. This is the most important thing that we need to do for veterans.
Yes.
I got a question.
Go ahead.
I have a friend of mine that wants to call in.
Wants to call in?
Yeah, he wants to call in, bro.
All right, let me.
Yeah, you want to work on that?
Yeah, I got that. I'll let you.
Hey,
know.
John A., hold on a second. I got you, bro. I got you.
Yeah.
All right, so as we segue into that, let's start talking a little bit about the Juneteenth celebration that we have seen all across Delco. First of all, I want to say very good job by everyone who has put together a Juneteenth program for a number of years since we started celebrating. That was the major emphasis and focus, is to make people more aware of this holiday and this date of event and time. So I'm not here to do a critique. I'm not here to rub anybody's event at all. I want to say personally, as a person who's been responsible for awareness for Juneteenth, I want to say thank you to everyone that participated, that put on a great show, spectacle, performances, everything that you did to help kids, to expose them to this holiday. Thank you so much from the bottom of your hearts, working hard for this celebration. You are to be commended. You are to pat yourselves on the back, and you should feel very proud of yourselves for embracing this holiday. I also want to say thank you to the various folks and people that's in my camp that have supported my versions of what Juneteenth means to me and the versions that I want to give to you. I want to thank you so much for your years of support and for your years of coming out to the events that I've hosted and for listening and learning from me. You know, I feel very honored and privileged to be a teacher of sorts to a lot of folks who have praised me for my work, and I'm very humbled by that, because it just makes me want to research more and give the spoonfuls of knowledge, so to speak, to folks who have openly admitted to me that they were not educated properly, who have openly admitted to me that they didn't look at the Black American aspect from that point of view, or that they grew up in homes that did not express certain things a certain way from a perspective that they now understand now because of many reasons. One of them being is that a lot of families now have children that have interracial marriages, or have children that are mixed children. Yes. And one of the things that I've learned about looking at people from other cultures is that those who wish to learn something will ask. Mm-hmm. And a lot of the folks that learned from me, they asked me a lot of questions. And when I had the answers for them, I didn't give it to them. You better accept this. You better take it. You better. It was always, well, how does this make you feel? How do you come to an understanding for this yourself to formulate the question to ask me from my perspective? And once I understand the level of where they're at of understanding, I match it. And once I can match that level of understanding, we're both on the same wavelength. And once we're on the same wavelength, then you can start to expand from that point where the knowledge is shared knowledge. And that's where I'm appreciative for many of people embracing Juneteenth after not knowing about it for so many years and understanding where it comes from. Now,
you want him to call in? He can call in. Tell him to call my number.
All right.
I'm gonna put it on the screen.
Okay.
You'll see it.
Hey Johnny, if you're on, you should be on cmpradio.net. The number's coming up on the screen, and you can go ahead and call in. We're taking your call, Johnny May. Johnny May. Listen, man, I'm gonna tell you something about this guy. This guy is a historian himself. He's a lover of history himself. So I know the reason why he wants to call in, and I'm anticipating this call. He's a real good dude. He does a lot of different things with his company and with what he does in the community. And this is somebody that I've only known for like about, I'm gonna say like going on 2 years. It should be coming. Hey, Johnny, it should be coming up. Right call now. In
484-802-2383.
484-802-2383.
It's 484-802-2383.
Yeah, let's get those call-ins real quick. But while we're waiting for this call, I'm going to let my man Johnny May segue in here when he comes in, because I'm very interested in what he has to add to this. This is the part of the show that we're really trying to get to. We're really trying to get your feedback on the current events, not just in Chester, but Upper Darby, Swarthmore. We want to hear from you in Aston. You know, we want to hear from you in Brookhaven. We want to hear from you so that way we can start talking about the things that matter. We hear a lot of the politics. We hear a lot of the back and forth. We hear so much. But are we really talking about what matters? Our security here in our communities, the education of our children in our communities, the safety of our seniors and our women and our children in our community, the employment of people in our community. We have the same values. Yeah, Johnny, 402
484.
2383, Johnny.
I just jumped on there on your live. And
Yeah.
sent it to him.
Yeah, he's gonna come in, bro. He's gonna come in. This is what I love about the folks that are in my stream or on my page, is that they're really engaging. You know, they really do engage. They really do ask questions. They really do leave comments. And like I tell people, my page is for free speech. You know what I mean? Don't be hateful when you come on my page. Don't call people names or stuff like that or whatever. Don't do none of that. But feel free to engage and ask those questions, even if you got a different point of view. That's what I want. You're supposed to have a different point of view. You know, this is what we're supposed to know. There are people that I have friends. What's up, Julian? Out there in Cali. There are people down in Washington, D.C. What's up, Karen? There are people down in North Carolina. What's up, Denise? You know, there are people that are all across the United States and across the world that tune in to me. And when they do, they offer a different perspective because they're in a different environment. Their situation isn't my situation, but their situation is my situation because of the humanity that we all share together because of the same shared value. And that's what Juneteenth should be about. More than just a celebration of the General Order Number 3 being read to the formerly enslaved in Galveston, Texas. Juneteenth is not the ending of slavery. It is not. It is not. I know that a lot of our public officials have stated this over and over and over and over again. They are wrong. This General Order Number 3. Well, let's go to the Emancipation Proclamation. What is a proclamation? A proclamation is an unenforceable order. It is just an announcement. It is exactly what the definition says. It is an announcement of succession of a certain item being slavery. Now, why is it important that people harp so much on the Emancipation Proclamation? Well, since the Magna Carta, there hasn't been a document of any substantial significance anywhere in the world that dealt with a human condition that existed all across the world. So the announcement itself would be like the biggest news today. Okay? So it's an announcement. But let's put in perspective from when an announcement is made. You said it went right to your voicemail.
No, tell him to call it again.
Bryce said,
he said the wrong number. I ain't getting no missed call. Come try it again.
Yeah, try it again, Johnny. 484-802-2383, bro. 2383. You got the first 6. You got to get the other 4 together. But let's talk about this, you know, and this is the one thing that I hope for next year, that we get folks that actually understand the history of this date and the significance of it. And hopefully next year we start 484-802-2383, Johnny. Come on, man. Come on, I'm waiting on you, man. I know you got knowledge in this, bro. I know you got knowledge in this.
Tell him to send his number, and I'll call him.
Yeah. Give me your number, Johnny. Stop playing. But again, I don't claim to be let me segue back to this. I don't claim to be the expert when it comes to Juneteenth. I do claim to be very passionate, and I do study to show myself approved in matters when it comes to talking about it. And I really do a deeper dive by listening to podcasts, being on Zooms, and going to different events that talk about these things. In order to, we got Johnny on the line. In order to give people a clearer perspective. Hey, we got Johnny May on the line.
Trying to get it. Got it.
Hold on, Johnny.
Good.
Here we go.
Yo, Johnny.
Yo,
All right.
What's up, Johnny?
Rich Blye, how are you, my good man?
I'm doing good, Johnny May. How you feeling, brother?
I'm doing good. Let me first just start out by saying my last name is May. My family is very well known amongst the Chester community.
I love you, Water Ice.
That's me, baby. That's me. My grandfather started it back in 47. And it's been, but listen, I've been listening to a lot of the things that you say, and I really, really respect the fact that you are a provider of correct history.
Thank you.
You know, it's a very interesting and important thing that I feel that a lot of people need to know, because whether it's African American history, European American history, you know, Asian American history, it's all American history.
There you go.
And we got to obviously remember that, you know, you can't ignore history and you can't erase history, because those that ignore and try to erase history are doomed to repeat it.
Come on.
You know, Johnny, and hold on, I'm going to segue into something that a lot of people don't understand too. They have to understand that in order for us to talk about this American history, especially the Civil War, we also have to include the Confederate history. Mm-hmm. We have to.
And see that's the thing, and I'm willing to probably bet. Now I'm gonna hit you with something that you probably didn't hear or don't know. You know, during the war between the states, 23,000 blacks fought for the Confederacy. 23,000. 13,000 of them earned battle stars because they were actually engaged in battle. And the thing is, people don't realize this, but we've seen movies on TV like Glory, you know, which glorify all black regiments that are assembled in the Civil War during the Civil War by the Union. Well, people don't realize there was a reason for that. And the reason was because, you know, Lincoln was drafting troops from day one in an effort to cease the rebellion at Fort Sumter, South Carolina.
Truth.
The Confederacy never instituted a draft until 1863.
Yep.
After the Battle of Gettysburg.
Yes.
So if you think about this, and it's a sensitive topic to talk about, but it's the truth. You had immigrants coming off of the boat from Poland, from Ireland, you know, and other various countries in Europe. And as soon as they took 2 steps off of the boat,
It was given a gun.
they were told, listen, we'll give you free soup and bread. All you got to do is sign here on the dotted line and go fight for your new country. They didn't even get a chance to see the new country yet. And they were already pushed into the army. And they were being pushed into the army under the pretenses that they were being forced to fight and possibly die to free the slaves. So it created an anger. Because, I mean, let's not kid ourselves. A lot of times back in the day, there was not really a lot of love from the Irish for the black people. And the reason why was because the majority of most Irish immigrants were treated so horrible and pushed into the army under that impression they're going to free the slaves, that they were finding a lot of the freed slaves that they were trying to. Frederick Douglass instituted a project where he was going to take free slaves and he was going to incorporate them into the army so they too could go fight for their slavery of their brothers that were still in bondage. Right. And what happened was the resentment from some of these European immigrants was so harsh. They were finding black troops murdered, mutilated, beaten to death, beaten to barely death, you know, and just really, really treated horrible by these other Union troops to the point where they had to assemble them into their own good regiments for their own protection. But they never had they never had black officers. They always had white officers.
There you go, Johnny. Hold on a second, Johnny, because see now, Johnny's giving y'all a whole lot of the Juneteenth history. And hold on, this is not from the other side. You have to remember, yes, there were two sides fighting, but it was two sides fighting pretty much on the lines of the same principle. What Mr. May is talking about is the Enrollment Act of 1863. Okay?
Correct.
The Enrollment Act of 1863 is basically a conscription law, where they conscripted people into the service. Like he said,
concubine.
Yeah, concubine. Basically, like he said, Italian, Polish, Irish, Jewish, coming off of boats. Hold on, already in cities. The Union government and the Confederacy, both sides went for men. Both sides said, "Do you have $300 entering this port of call?" Well, no, sir. I'm here for the opportunity of America. Blah blah blah. I just left a potato famine. I just left this atrocity or whatever. I just left all this. I'm come for all these opportunities. Nope.
You got to fight.
You got to fight. Now, for the ones who survived, how did they survive? We heard the atrocity of the resentments, but what about the togetherness from the ones that wanted to survive? You have to understand, they had to break a language barrier. Okay, there was no Rosetta Stone. So if you had Black Americans who spoke, Gullah, and you have somebody from Ireland that comes in from Ireland, how did they communicate together? Because somehow, some way, even after the war, we still lived in the same communities together, right, Johnny? I mean, that's how your family lived. That's how your family ended up in Chester, right?
That's a fact. Yep, that's a fact. That's a fact. And you know what? It's interesting because, like, I remember my grandmother used to tell me the stories about, even though, everybody all lived in Chester, but every little piece of Chester was its own little community.
Yes, it was.
Because I remember here's a funny story. My pop used to tell me stories about when my grandpa would bootleg wine. He'd make homemade wine. We called it Dago Red.
Right.
And he'd go around all the sections of the city where all the different cultures all lived, and he would use it to trade. And he would come back with lunch meat, homemade soup, sweet potato pies. Like, he had all kinds. No wine left, but he had all this other stuff. Right. So everybody kind of banded together, and they helped each other. They looked out for each other, and they, provided for each other, and they had each other's backs. And that's the way they did it even back in those days in the 1800s. Like, everybody's different, and that's a fact. Nobody really says that everybody's 100%, the same as each other. The only thing we all have in common is that if we all got cut, we all bleed red.
That's it.
But the thing is, I tell people all the time, like, you'll see me posting goofy stuff all over Facebook, and you don't know which way I'm going. You might think I'm educated, racist, goofy. Some people even think I fell and hit my head a few times. the thing is, we all have something to learn because the brain is a never-ending file for knowledge.
Yes.
Yes, sir.
And I always tell people, you can't talk to a brick because a brick is not willing to listen, learn, and understand. And the only thing a brick knows how to do is just sit on a wall.
That's it. Just sit there.
That's it.
Right.
And we got a lot of bricks.
And they're all dead from the neck up. And that's why I chime in on a lot of your stuff. See, like, I love learning about history just because of the fact that there's so much of it, and once you learn it, it never changes.
Right. Exactly.
Yeah. It's yours forever.
And I'm going to segue in there, Johnny. Like, again, a lot of folks have to understand, that's how I learned as well. Right. Not just by absorbing information, being on these podcasts or going into the Zooms. I actively talk to men and women like Johnny May. I talk to them because they have a unique perspective, because they have family that have been here in this community of Delco for a long time. So the grassroots of what Delco is, that's where I learned it from. I couldn't pick up a book to learn about Delco. I had to go and meet this man. I had to talk to this man on the phone or above board on Facebook or, in private messages. I learned more and gained a respect for this man, not being in his circle or not being in his proximity, but by looking at his life and looking at the things that he stands for and him embracing truth with knowledge. You know what I mean? So these are the people, and Johnny, this is what makes this community great with our history, is because we have a firm understanding of not dwelling so much on the negativity. It's there. We can't do anything about it. Okay. But the byproduct of the freedom to be able to work together in our community is what binds us together as Americans. Everything else is just fluff another.
Well, you're right. It's a fancy wine dressing.
Yep.
Wow.
And
I always tell people, like, you got to be willing to be open-minded. My mother's people have been in America since 1721. I got family on her side that were fighting for the British when we were taking on the Indians and the French.
Absolutely.
And
Absolutely.
and my pop's people came here in like 1902. And that's where the Italian side comes from. But the interesting thing is, like, I know this Confederate battle flag has been such a topic of controversy, but people don't realize, like, when blacks fought in the South, they fought side by side because they were all Christians. They were all believers in Christ, and they believed that, like, people don't really hear this. They just think about slavery. They think about whips and chains and the scene from Roots when they got Toby tied up to the tree and shit. Like, it's not that. Like, only 5% of people in the South own slaves. So
the top 5%,
the aristocracy.
Yes.
The ones that could buy their way out of not having to fight. So the thing is, if that was the case, then what were the other 95% fighting for? They weren't going to fight so some rich cracker could keep his slaves. It was because they were being invaded. Their homeland was being invaded. Now, see, the funny thing is people don't realize this statistic, but 8% of the North owned slaves.
Yes, they did.
And the last slave was owned by General Ulysses S. Grant.
Yes, he did.
The first man to get a DUI on horseback.
We got history for you, baby.
I'm telling you. And the thing is, you have to realize, like, everybody's human. And we learn from history because mistakes are always made throughout history. That's what makes history so great, because we learn from those mistakes. Mm-hmm. But when you try to erase those mistakes, then how are you supposed to learn? If we erase it, right. If we erase the Holocaust, if we erase slavery, if we erase Pearl Harbor and 9/11, how are the generations that weren't there when these things happened going to learn these negative things that happened in history for them to not repeat them? 2 generations from now, if we try to erase slavery, 2 generations from now, when we're back to dust, these kids aren't going to understand what it even was. They're going to think, when you mention slavery, they're going to think about the Egyptian pyramids 2,500 years ago.
Right. Isn't that the goal behind erasing things, is though that people can't remember, so we can go right back to it, right?
Well, and see, and that's my point. Like, people today are so, how can I put it? They think that they're so smart that they're stupid.
Yeah, we got a lot of smart dummies. We got a lot of smart dummies, Johnny.
Yeah, listen, look, my grandmom used to say, stay away from undereducated geniuses and overeducated idiots because they make stress.
Damn.
Yeah.
You know, and these kids today, unfortunately, with the concepts that they're pushing out there with their protests, like they don't realize, they don't understand, like, leave history the way it is. Leave it where it is. Learn more about it. Don't try to erase it.
Right.
Well, Johnny, as we tell them, policy isn't changed by protests. Policy is changed by representation. When you come into the halls where the legislators are speaking and talking and showing a force to make sure that they're legislating is right because they're elected by us. Protest does. It is the voice of the people. I'm not against protests, okay? I'm not against peaceful, relevant protests, and I'm not against any of that. But the thing about it is, if you're just protesting and you're just voting, if you're not coming to where the people are that are making these laws unlawfully against you, these taxes unlawfully against you, then you're giving them the green light to go ahead and do it, and it's all for naught. And then the second thing, like how Johnny just said, knowing history and understanding the past history, no matter how distasteful it is, makes you better prepared for the future, so you don't repeat the things from past history. Come on. Okay? But like Johnny, and I've said this, Johnny, you've heard me say it. There are people from other ethnicities, from other races, from other cultures that understand Black Americans, African Americans better than Black Americans and African Americans because why? In their own culture, they have experienced the same thing. Right. In their own culture, they have dealt with it as well. They didn't make their own community pay for the suffering. No. They made the world pay for it. Right. Okay. Here's the thing, and I'm gonna use certain nationalities. Let's start with the Irish. Okay, the Irish were oppressed. The Irish were enslaved. The Irish were treated horribly here in America. They were brought over here in bondage. Even if it was in indenture too, it was still bondage service where they were raped, where they were killed, where the children were mutilated, where the children were taken from their homes. It did happen. Okay, so there's no reason to get upset. But let's look at it like this. From that, did they not get up and build their communities? Did they not get up and do the things that were necessary to be Americans? Do they not have celebrations of their culture that everyone around the world enjoys? The answer to that is yes. Same thing for the Chinese. Yeah. Same thing for the Italian. Same thing for Jewish. Same thing for everybody. And the reason why Black African Americans have to have ceremonies of relevance is because the same as other cultures, when they celebrate their history and their culture, the reason why it's recognized is because it's recognized as they moved upward and outward, not inward and downward.
The only thing I can honestly say is, like, I feel bad for a lot of the African Americans, Blacks will say. Because, see, the problem is, I have buddies that I talk to all the time, and you can ask me, like, hey, Johnny May, where are your people from? I'll tell you, they're from Rome, and they're from Wales, England. Right?
Right.
Can't ask that same question.
I think I lost you.
No, you're still here. You're still here,
Johnny.
You still here?
You hear us?
Can you hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you, Johnny. We got you. You still there. Keep going. I think we lost him.
There you got disconnected.
I think we lost him.
Unknown caller.
There you go.
Here he goes. He coming right back in. Go ahead. We got you. You still there, Johnny. Go ahead.
Hold on. Let me get him.
Hold on.
Go ahead, Johnny. I hear you. You hear me?
All right, we're back.
Yeah, we're back.
So, like I was saying, I said I've got a lot of buddies of mine that are Black, and guys I grew up with, and families that my families were tight with, and you know, I said one time, I said, you know, I see resentment a lot of times in the Black community because they're pushing for their own holidays and they're pushing for, you know, their own thing to celebrate. And the reason why is because there's an unfairity there that most of us have that many Blacks in America don't have.
Right.
And the reason why is if you ask me, Johnny May, where are your people from? That was like an old question that the elders used to ask me, like, where are your people from? I'd be like, my people come from Rome, Italy, and they come from Wales, England. Now, if I ask my friends of color, where are your people from? Well, they may not know because somewhere one of their family members was hijacked and sold and brought to America, and we don't know what part of the motherland they came from.
Right.
Right.
We just know that they came from there.
Right.
You know, so like there's so many cool cultures over there in that continent. And, you know, like my one buddy said, man, I'd love to be, you know, he wanted to be a mandingo. But he's like, but he was like, he's like, I don't know. He's like I wish I knew where my ancestors came from when they came from Africa.
Right.
So we just have to have a holiday that celebrates the entire continent as one culture.
And you know what, Johnny? I'm going to cut you off, but that in itself is something that has happened as far as Africans and those from African ancestry.
Right.
What we're trying to accomplish with Juneteenth, and a lot of people, you know, have to understand this, is that this is an American holiday.
Correct.
Right. So when we put African in front of it, it throws a lot of people off because it's not a rejection of Africa. It's trying to accept something that makes sense. And I've heard this. Why is it this American holiday if you keep putting Africa in front of it? And watch this, as black Americans go over into Africa, they get asked their question. They say African American, and the people look at them and blink their eye and say, What? Well, what country? What country in Africa? And they say, no, I'm from America. I'm African. And then they go, no, you're American. Because again, we have to come to terms with where we are. It is okay to pay homage to a continent that has provided me with DNA from a sub-Saharan continent. I do acknowledge that. But part of the problem of celebrating this holiday here and the history that we need to embrace here is that we keep attaching it to an entity that had nothing to do with the American freedom here. You understand what I'm saying? The same way that when your family came over and they populated this area and they built up in their communities, it was Italian, Irish, communities. It wasn't American, but it was in America. So when you celebrate being Irish American, when you celebrate being Italian American, you can do that, like you said, because you know where you come from.
Absolutely.
It's kind of upsetting to some people. Some people do trace their lineage back to Africa. But I just recently got finished helping a person go through and do their ancestry. And they were under the belief that their family was from slavery. Under the belief for years, their whole family. Come to find out that 4 generations ago, that grandfather was a freed man. Come to find out that they've been around since the Revolutionary War. That they had shops. That their whole entire family had never touched slavery. Okay, her bloodline had nothing to do with slavery.
But she's still black, though.
I know, of course, she's still black, but what I'm saying is that the stigma that comes with slavery is that some people automatically think that you come from an oppressive place and time, so thus you're not educated formally about the history of yourself.
Can we admit that there were freed black men in the United States
absolutely.
during this time of slavery?
Yeah.
Right. There were people going around on ships just like everyone else as a black man, as a black family, as a black tribe. Right, doing the same thing, right? So when we sit here and we try to say that, all right, I'm African American or I'm black, and we put everybody in the slave category, everybody don't want to fit there. Like, we can say that Indians might have been a little darker skinned than how they look in movies and different things like that, or how they look today. So, I just say, yes, Was slavery wrong? Absolutely. Should we be upset about it? Yes, we should be more upset about the postcards of the black men hanging from trees with their stomachs cut open, or the women that were burnt and the babies were cut out of their stomachs, than we should be about slavery. Now, I'm not saying don't be mad about it, but we can focus on some other things to talk about when we talk about Juneteenth, when we talk about being free, when we talk about being able to buy your own land and move forward and leave from down south to populate areas in the north and the west, right? So for me, Juneteenth is a celebration of my people. My father was Haitian American, right? He wasn't. He fought to become an American. You feel me? But he died when we were young, right? When I was young, 37, right? He was 37, I was 12. But I don't feel like everyone else, right? My heritage comes from Haiti. I know this for a fact. They were free, 1804.
Right.
So, like when I think about all of these things, I don't really feel bad about being black. I'm more proud about it. I'm more telling people we need to come together. Right?
Because again, watch this. And Johnny, hold on a second, because I know you're going to add to this. But look at this, though, John. Yep. You have a country to relate to. Okay, you have a right, and I understand you get it, right? But for a lot of folks,
they don't get it.
They don't get it because why? They don't have those connections, or those connections have been severed, or those connections aren't taught. Go ahead, Johnny. What were you about to say?
Yeah, and I was going to say, like, a lot of holidays that are originated here in America, they're the celebration of struggle.
Right.
And achievement, and like 4th of July, what's that mean? Well, we fought against England, we won our independence, Flag Day, we invented came up with our own good flag and all that kind of stuff. Like the French have Bastille Day, there's other countries that have their things. And in America, when you talk about Juneteenth to me is the celebration of the end of the struggle of slavery. Right. But like you said earlier, was it really the end? Because if you think about, the whole end of slavery, the Emancipation Proclamation was issued in January of 1863. And yet West Virginia seceded from Old Virginia in June of 1863, but was admitted into the Union as a slave state. Mm-hmm. And a lot of people don't realize that, and when they came into Galveston, Texas and said, hey, listen, y'all, it's over. Put the pick down, put the shovel down. You guys are free now. And see, what a lot of people don't realize is Juneteenth is the celebration of when enslaved people the last enslaved people of the South were told you're no longer a slave.
Right.
But that didn't stop sharecropping and all that kind of stuff.
No, I didn't.
And hold on, Johnny. I'm gonna give you one further. It also that was them getting to Galveston, Texas, and arriving. What a lot of people don't understand from 1863, from that proclamation, is that okay, we can hit a button now and say Emancipation Proclamation, all black people are free, and we can hit send. As soon as we hit send, we can reach 1 million people. Okay, a lot of people are talking about, well, why did it take so long for them to get the message from 1863 to 1865? Well, we were still fighting. Right. Okay, we were still fighting a war. Right. So even though that you issued a proclamation is not law. It was basically a general public announcement.
Like a proposal.
Yeah. Just a general. And what happened was, people don't understand, is that it took the Battle of Antioch to convince the Secretary of State Seward and to convince President Lincoln that we were viable to fight for ourselves. Because again, no one believed it until, again, the Confederacy already proved that blacks can fight, because again, blacks was fighting. And here's the thing.
Right.
They were winning. A lot of people don't understand that the South was winning. It was winning really, really good. Because, again, what people have the idea is because what they look at the idyllic South of now, you know, it's quiet, it's lazy, it's this, that, and the third, blah, blah, blah. The South was the industrial giant of the United States. The South produced all of the textile. The South produced all of the steel. The South produced
all the agriculture.
All of the agriculture. And what they had in abundance was humans to do it for free.
Right.
Okay, so when you go to fight a war, you gotta have resources. Well, the United States, the Union of the United States, the Union part, you know, they had some factories, they had some stuff, but most of the ports from Charleston all the way down, that was the closest points from any place Africa or any place from the South. So they had to stop there first. So any goods and services coming from out of the South that helped the war effort was coming to the South, not the North. This is why you had the This is why you had the blockade in the Chesapeake.
Right.
And again, when we talk about this history, we need to make it digestible. We need to make it relatable. And we have to be truthful with one another, even with unpleasantries. Like, here we are talking about the Confederacy and nobody getting cussed out. Ain't nobody sitting up here going, oh, you're talking about the Confederates. We have to talk about it. They didn't fight against themselves.
No, they didn't.
Well, and listen, like, here's the one thing I think we can all agree on. You have to have an audience that's understanding that there was two sides to it, because a lot of people will say, I don't want to hear that. This is what I'm going to say, and everything else is irrelevant.
And that's a great point, Johnny. Everything is irrelevant when you don't want to deal with the truth.
Well, see, and that's why, like, with some of these protests and protesters, when you're out there making a whole lot of noise without proposing a solution, you're not looking to fix anything. You're just looking for attention. You know, and I always say to people, when you bitch and moan without proposing a solution, then that's all you're doing is just complaining.
Just complaining.
Just
solution based, bro. I need a solution. I need, before I go outside and do anything, what's going to happen afterwards, right? What is going to help us, right?
Hey, Johnny, we're about to hit our next segment. Thank you for calling in. And Johnny, listen.
You still making water ice? Let me get some water ice.
Get
a Christmas tree.
Listen, and some Easter flowers.
Right, absolutely.
Oh yeah, definitely, bro. Listen, for everybody, this is Johnny May.
Yeah.
This is my man. This is my guy.
Absolutely.
You know, this is the biker Taylor. And when I tell you, when you talk to this man, make sure you have some common sense.
Absolutely.
Please. Don't take it for a joke. No. Talk to this man with some common sense. Brother, one love. Thanks for calling in. I'm about to hit the next topic, and anytime you want to come on the show, let me know.
Yeah.
Maybe I'll come in personally and sit next to you.
Yeah. Absolutely, bro. That's what we want. Let's go.
Just a couple old Chester boys getting it on.
Yep.
Why not? Thanks, Johnny.
Thanks for
calling in.
Right.
All right, bro.
See you guys.
Peace.
See you guys. Now, like I was saying, bro, these are the type of engagements that we can have if we are willing to open up our hearts and minds, not only to learn, not only to teach, but to also learn. And this is what I want to take for and I'm gonna get back to what I was saying about that slavery didn't end just with the General Order Number 3 and Juneteenth, but these are the components of having these conversations with folks who may have a different point of view. Okay, everyone has a perspective, but then everyone also has a point of view.
Right.
Okay, your perspective is really based upon what?
You.
It's based upon you. It's based upon your environment. It's based upon what you've been taught.
Absolutely.
It's based upon what you've seen, heard, felt, all of the senses. A point of view is what you express based upon those things. Okay? Now, is your point of view valid? Or is it something that you learned from somewhere or repeated from somewhere that you yourself did not investigate to see if it was true? One of the things that I tell folks before I start talking anywhere is that I vet my information 1,000%. because I know that we live in a day of misinformation. I know we live in a day of age where folks will come and say anything on the mics, get on, podcasts or Zooms or whatever, and just wax poetically, and just come to find out that they're just charlatans. Yep. Like I said, this is my way. My way is having these comfortable conversations of history. And when you have these conversations of history, okay, well, let's get to the knowledge of it. Let's see what you know. Let's see what you don't know. So when I say that it wasn't an end of slavery in 1865, let me hit you with the Treaty of 1866 with the 5 nations of Oklahoma. Now, for a lot of folks out here, and I don't mean to hurt your feelings, but I'm going to say this. Some of you really think that you come from the ancestry of Native Americans and those who have been here that are part of indigenous tribes. That could absolutely be true. You trace your lineage. Your great grandparents have told you that you can go to those spots. I'm not talking about those folks. I'm talking about the folks who have not, and just believe on the old wives' tales of great grandmama, whatever. Oh, I got the good hair. I'm Indian. Yeah, you may have the good hair. You may be Indian, but you might have been a slave.
Right.
You have to go find that out, because the United States government had to make another treaty with them to free over 200,000 more of us in 1866, a year later. So when people say, oh, why do we celebrate Juneteenth? Well, why do we celebrate the 4th? The 4th of July didn't happen on the 4th of July. Independence Day didn't happen on that particular day. In history, there always needs to be a fixed point in time for people to recognize. Declaration of Independence, Philadelphia, Liberty Bell, 4th of July. Points. All of these items didn't come together, all at one fixed point in time. The Constitution and Declaration of Independence didn't get ratified in 1776. It got ratified later.
Yes.
Okay, so we don't celebrate those later dates, but what we do celebrate is that there's a fixed point, date, and time. Now, let's go into Black history. Name another day in Black history of significance that celebrates freedom. I'll wait.
Civil Rights Act?
Okay. During the time of slavery, celebrates freedom.
During the time of slavery?
Yes, during the time of slavery. Name anything else in our point of history that helps celebrate our freedom.
Just in the United States?
Yep.
All right, I ain't got nothing.
There is nothing. Okay? So this is why Juneteenth was chosen. Juneteenth was chosen because it was already a fixed date in American history in Galveston, Texas. Right. It was already fixed. It was celebrated on this day.
And they were celebrating it down there in
okay,
Galveston.
Listen, they celebrate it every year. Okay, Galveston started it off. Then in, I would say this, 1973, the state of Texas formally adopted it. So it became a state holiday in the 70s. Right. This is not anything new. Right. Okay? Now, it's so much around the world because people from Galveston, people from places down south that know about it. Hold on. There's actually a town in Mexico that celebrates Black People's Day. Yeah? Yeah, you know what day it's on?
No.
June 19th.
Wow.
Yeah, wow. Yeah, I'm going to get to that too.
Right.
Yeah, I'm going to get to that too because we had Blacks that left, went to Mexico, helped secure the border, and in return, they have on June 19th, celebration of Black people in Mexico. So so again, we're going to stop with these driven narratives by folks who don't understand the correlating history as it comes to our freedom because they're leaving out key points. They're leaving out key points, including the Choctaw, including the Sioux, okay? Including the Navajo. Now, I'm not against those who are from Native American heritage. I'm not against that because there are people that are part of indigenous tribes. That's why we go to powwows. And I've been to several in Fairmount Park, and it's a very beautiful ceremony. But we have to get people to understand. We have to get people to understand that this was an overall systematic way of the whole world in the way that it was thinking. And that the Emancipation Proclamation was a public announcement. It did not stop slavery. What it did was it standardized the way that the world viewed slavery. Yep. And what it did was that it propelled other countries. Because while Haiti being the model for its celebration of freedom and independence and fighting back the French, the world didn't help protect Haiti to keep it from being punished by the French.
No, it didn't.
And it's still being raped by the same people that claim to love it and going down into Haiti. So this is why I say to all Haitians, brothers and sisters, how can we hate each other? How can we look down upon one another with our celebrations? How can we look at the nose of one and without helping the other understand what their basis of freedom is? Because I go to Haitian Flag Day, okay? When they talked about Liberia and Liberian Independence Day. In Delaware County, Liberian Independence Day was first celebrated in Lansdowne. I was there for that. And the reason why I was there for that, and Mr. Kamara, who's running for sheriff, he'll tell you. He and I sat down for a length of time when I was going through Juneteenth, and I was like, hey, you got to have a celebration of culture here in America, bro. Right. You know, you got to do these things. You know what I mean? You got to put you guys on the map. You know what I'm saying? Like, that's what all I'm about. Put yourself on the map. And they had a whole celebration for that, and then they took off with it because they worked together. This is what I'm coming to, folks, ladies and gentlemen, at cmpradio.net. If you're listening,
appreciate you.
This is what you should be doing after Juneteenth. Let's talk about those Fusion Fridays. Let's talk about the fact that how out of the spirit of wanting to have our children and our communities to have a flourishing, great summer, how grassroots people decided to take it upon themselves with a slow-moving government. I say slow-moving because you did move, government. You did move, but you were slow.
They're moving.
Huh? They move.
They're not moving at a rate you would expect.
No. Like I said, slow moving. That's why I'm saying slow moving.
But they're moving.
That's why I said slow moving. We're about honesty here, right?
Right.
We're about keeping it real, right?
Absolutely.
I didn't say they wasn't doing nothing. Now, maybe 5 years ago, I could say they wasn't doing nothing. But I can say with certainty that I have seen the city of Chester, with its government, improve itself by attaching itself publicly with a working community in a positive fashion. Yes. I must say that because it is a different administration, and I'm not judging you by the old one. What this administration is doing, whether you like Mr. Mayor Roots or whatever, I'm not going to get into any of that because I haven't been to a meeting to know what his administration is doing. Right. But I will say this on the surface of what I've seen him attaching with the nonprofits, especially with Fusion Fridays, is a great asset and a great look. But look what had to be done in order to get that. You had to come out with a public protest about how people were treated in the past. You had to come out with bearing your soul and the efforts that you have went through personally, P, in order to get people to not look at it from the political wavelength that we've always done it in the past, to actually look at it from the human aspect of life and deal with these issues in our community, which is these children, which is the lack of resources and the lack of things for these kids to do.
People forget, right? Yeah, politics are only important because the people are behind it. We vote these people in. These people come to us and say they're going to do this, they're going to do that. But the power is in the people. And I say this all the time, right? When I talk to the people of my community, man, I talk to them with love. I talk with them with admiration. I talk to them with hope in my eyes, bro, because I see, or I have seen, what happens when a community comes together, when a community uplifts each other, when a community supports each other. We don't really need nobody in office. Honestly, I don't think the mayor, and I'm not saying Mayor Roots is not doing a good job, right? For me,
Right.
the perfect mayor is a community person. He's going into the community every day. See, the decisions, the paperwork, the money, the monetary funds, all that's supposed to be done by people who go to school,
Right.
who understand how things
Right.
work correctly. But the mayor should be in his community going into the project, talking to the constituents down there and telling them, listen, I know you're in a low income environment, but we need y'all to give some money, right? So take up, I don't know how much money y'all gonna give every year and put this in so we can give it to the school district.
I'm gonna tell you, I don't mean to cut you off,
Go
Pete,
ahead.
but any mayor should be that beacon of hope for the people. I really believe that the most important job of a mayor is to be a symbol of trust.
Yes.
Is to be that person that when you go, and I'm gonna say this, I've met a lot of different mayors. I've met a governor or two, and and everybody knows that I've been attached to Tom Cozy ever since for many years when I got started, and I take how mayors should be, how my father said mayors should be, and that is that if a mayor doesn't engage you in public, it means that he's just going to ignore you in private.
What?
And a lot of these mayors, I'm not saying you got to shake the hands of everybody because I know there's only so much time and you can't touch everybody. You know what I mean?
Bullshit.
I mean, you can, but you can't. You know what I mean? You can't.
That's your job.
Yeah, I understand. You can, but
Right.
you can, but
Right.
you can't. You can
Right.
you can make wave acknowledgments in general area of people.
Yeah.
You're like, acknowledgement is where I'm trying to get to.
Absolutely.
Okay. When you don't feel a connection with your mayor, you don't feel a connection with your city. When you don't feel a connection with the people that you vote for, you have no connection to your city. When the people that caped and put on that cape and said, I'm going to come to your part of the section of the city and I'm going to help clean it up and I'm going to deal with the issues and all this other type of stuff. And then when you see them on the street after they get elected and they give you the Barbie wave and keep it moving,
Right. That's bad.
that's bad. That's bad. If you don't know who your ward leaders are, okay, if you don't know who your committee people are, then how can you walk around here and talk about what the community's not doing?
Is that on the ward leaders to say who they are?
Yes, it is.
Right? And
Yes, it is.
As well as the community.
Yes, it
Once
is.
the ward leaders come out, once
Yes,
we
it is.
understand how many ward leaders we have in our community, how many block captains we have in our community, come out and say, so you can come to me. You want to have a block party? You want to do this in this block? You got to go to me first. Then I take it to the mayor. That's the way things used to work.
That's the way things used to work.
Right.
And now hold on. I'm going to say this, right?
Go
In
ahead.
some places, they don't have committee people. In some
Right.
places, they don't have ward leaders because we don't have people that are filling these positions. But let me tell you about Chester. Chester has ward leaders. Chester has committee people. Okay? That's not a problem here in Chester. Because I've been introduced to some people and say, yeah, I'm the ward leader, so-and-so, such and such. You know what street this is? And I'm like, well, yeah. Let me run through your block.
I need a ward leader book.
Yeah, let me run through your block.
Right.
Okay, you know who can help with your information and knowing about ward leader and committee people?
Who that is?
State representative.
Okay, all right. Let me
State
go-
representative office.
Let me go over there. and
Yeah,
have
go
a
over there and talk to
conversation.
Carol.
Right.
Okay, absolutely. See, people don't understand how it works. Yes, you vote for people, but the state representative's office's job is to help you with policy. I'm going to say this again. The state representative's job is to represent you people for policy, rules, regulations, not just jobs, not just lie heap, not just, those things are great. Don't get me wrong. I'm not against these things. I'm not against them whatsoever.
Right.
But understand that you're not actualizing everything that you need to be self-sustaining in your own community. The reason why most communities fail in some areas is because it does not have representation from its own members. The ones that are thriving in Chester, you know to go talk to Miss Susan down the block. You know to go talk to Mr. Earl up the street. You know they the ones that's connected. Go talk to Mr. Earl. Mr. Earl, no, da. Well, Mr. Earl's the committee man. Mr. Earl's the ward leader. He's the ward leader. He's the one that goes to these special events and dinners and stuff like that they have and whatnot to get next to the people that's either running or in positions of power. These are the people that talk to your state senators. These are the people that talk to your state representatives. These are the people that talk to your senators. These are the people that talk to the people House of Representatives. These are the people that retreat and resort with. So if you're not getting the full service out of your city, your mayor, you have checks and balances that you need to go and check and balance out. You cannot expect an elected official to come do a job for you that they know nothing about. And this is what I'm saying about the idea of Fusion Fridays. You express concerns about things from the past, about individuals from the past that did not do their due diligence. I'm not saying they didn't do anything, but when I say didn't do their due diligence, there wasn't nothing that right now, this moment, 2 years removed from the previous administration, that you can look that's actionable, that happened, that impacted the community in a way that person's legacy is going to be remembered. The stadium does not benefit Chester. The casino does not benefit Chester. Okay? The trash to steam plant does not benefit Chester. Okay? It doesn't. I know these things are there and people have jobs and everything like that, but where does the money go? Does it go back into the Chester's infrastructure? These are the things that people have been saying for a while. No. Harrah's is a Philadelphia casino in Chester. Okay? So that revenue isn't shared. And I'm sorry, Subaru Park, you ain't doing enough. You guys are about to get billions and billions of dollars in the next year. And in my excellent opinion, I know that you got these little things set up for, certain select things, but you guys could do so much more. You guys could be so much more inviting. And stop paying these kids cheap, Subaru Park. Y'all paying these kids real cheap. Okay? Start upping those salaries for them games. Y'all can afford it. Y'all absolutely can afford it. I'm gonna get off of that before I digress on that. But again, I'm sorry. I'm a community activist. I talk to the kids. They done told me how much y'all paying them and how you treat them. Okay, so you can take it from me. You ain't got to take it from me. But I said it, and that's where we're at with it. But I just want to say that these Fusion Fridays at cmpradio.net was because of community action. And I just want to, shout out cmpradio.net and all of the various partners that are on for that Fusion Friday, because this shows you how it's done. And I hope that people in Upper Darby are listening to me, because I just want to say this. It's not everyone, but it's a lot of ego and why we can't put shit together where I'm living at. It's a lot of political shenanigans, which is the reason why when you see things happening in Upper Darby, you don't see us coming together like you see it in Chester. See, people can't point fingers at Chester no more, because guess what? You don't see or hear the babies killing each other like you used to. Ooh, wait a minute. Hold on. Everybody getting quiet. It ain't just the police stepping up in their actions on the street and getting the kids off. Oh, no. This is the community responding in Chester. In Chester, the place that y'all guys want to point fingers at. Chester, where you guys say, oh, it's the worst, Yes, Chester has some deficiencies. But you know what Chester's doing? Chester is taking care of Chester like always Chester does.
Like Chester is supposed to.
Like Chester always does.
Our deficiencies are given to us.
Yeah.
Right? And we make the best of them.
And you make the best of them. You make the best of them. And I said this, what, 5 years ago?
Yeah.
I said this. The best part of Chester is when it organizes. It is. I kid you not, I've never seen anything like it. I see one post where somebody will make a post about something that happens or didn't happen for the kids, or people took money and didn't appropriate it the right way. The next week I see 30 people lined up. We doing this. Then the very next week, do you know how admirable that is, Chester? That you guys do things that other people elsewhere can't do, but they point fingers at you like y'all so, Chester. But did you look at the crime rates of Chester lately?
I think the people that we put in power were not supposed to do the things that they did. Right, and that's what upsets us the most. That's what gets us ready for change. Again, we need leadership that is accountable for what happens, is transparent in how things happen, and doesn't have a problem with talking to the community and sharing information with the community. That's what leadership should be. That's how a leader should lead. He should be leading in a way that shows other people that you too can do my job. That it's not that far-fetched for you to become mayor one day and lead your community the way we're leading today. Are you accountable? Are you transparent? I mean, when we first started the radio station, that's what we was running off of, accountability and transparency.
Right.
And things happen, man. Things. You get a speed bump gets in your way, and you hit it, and you hit it too hard sometimes, and the wheels come off, and then you got to put them back on, right? But one thing that I have found myself continuing to say is, how can I be of service? That's it, right? And I ask myself that question every day I wake up. I try to make sure I'm of service. I'm helping someone, some way, somehow accomplish something, right? It's not in a negative way because I'm not doing that anymore, but how can I be of service to my community? How can I be of service to my children? How can I be of service to everyone, right? And when I say my children, I don't just mean the ones that came out of me. I mean every child out there in the city, right? I had people texting me today, yo, I just got off probation, man. I appreciate everything. I'm always be here. I might not be in that position anymore, but I'm still here for you. So just moving forward.
Yeah, can I tell you, Bryce? I'm going to tell you this, and you know, a lot of people have to understand this is my first time back at cmpradio.net. This is not my last time. I'm prepared to move forward with this segment of radio. We're just going to grow not only this segment, but we are going to continue to grow this radio station to make it one of the most premier independent radio stations here in Delco. But I really want to say this, Bryce. One thing that I noticed about you is that the first thing you do is seek the face of God every morning. Every morning you count your blessings, and I think that that's where, like, a lot of people don't understand the spirituality of men like ourselves. I'm not saying that I'm not a humble person. I humble myself before God. First.
That's the only person I gotta humble myself in front of.
When I wake up in the morning, I'm serious. When I wake up in the morning, before I put a morsel of food in my mouth,
thank you.
Before I drink anything,
so grateful.
I literally roll out of bed right to my knees, and I read Ephesians 4:32. Be ye kind to one another, tenderhearted, and forgiving one another as Christ has forgiven you. I read Psalms 91. I put on the whole armor of God. You know what I mean? I do these things because I understand where I'm at now in my life with. I'm not just fighting physical. I'm not just fighting the pressures. I'm fighting against the attitudes. And these attitudes are spirits.
Yes,
I'm fighting against the harmful effects of depression and PTSD, which are spirits. So I have to strengthen myself. So as we segue from community and what cmpradio.net has done to do that, it's also born out of Men's Mental Health Month, isn't it?
Yes.
Wasn't this born out of our stress and our suffering?
This radio station, yes.
This is the culmination of when you put something together positive after experiencing negativity for many years of your life, especially as men. So I really want to segue into Men's Mental Health Month, and me and Jean-Pierre have come to the conclusion that even though that it ends on the calendar today, it will not end for us for the rest of the year. It will not end for the rest of us for the rest of our lives. So as you see, sitting here next to me is a portrait of my son, Derek Eugene Blye, who was tragically murdered in the city of Philadelphia in 2022. And this is the beginning of the exposure of the trauma that I have been experiencing, going through, and dealing with. So That's the reason here. I lost my father. I lost my grandmother. I lost my spiritual mom. I lost my mother. You know, I lost a lot of individuals, but I just want to say that for Men's Mental Month, I really want to share this part with you. Being the father of a murdered child is one of the worst feelings that anyone can have on the planet. Now, I'm not saying why I specifically say fathers is because moms will automatically get the compassion that they deserve, okay? That they deserve. So I'm not knocking anything. This is not a knock. When our son was murdered, I went to mom. We were not together. I went to mom. And the first thing that I said was, I can't imagine how you feel right now, but I am willing to do whatever it takes. We have to bury a son. That was the first thing out of my mouth. There was no blame. There was no, I'm coming over to be the big boss, blah, blah, blah. It was humble myself because I did not know the extent of her experience in losing her child, her baby, her last child. So when that happened, everything in my world shut down. And I mean completely. There was no movement. There was nothing. Okay? And yes, I did not know how to process a death. I did not know how to feel. I did not know. And nor did I understand. Not like how I understand now, thanks to the wonderful therapy sessions that I have and still continue to go. Thanks to taking anger management sessions and understanding what's inside of me now as far as my diagnosis from this trauma. But the one thing that I really want to talk about when it comes to men's mental health is that folks, ladies, children, employers, when someone tells you that they have post-traumatic stress, whether they served or not, please give them a little bit of space. It's required. When you push somebody, when you continue to push them, when they're in these spaces, you put us in places of insecurity. And it makes us not angry at you. It makes us angry that we have these feelings that we sometimes can't control. One of the things that for Men's Mental Health Month is that for me, and I'm just going to provide you with my own personal experience. Again, I always come on here and say I'm not the expert. I am not the expert. I just know what I'm experiencing, and I'm sharing a point of view that may help others because I'm very public with what's happened to me, what's happened in my family, and the outcome from it, because I've decided for myself that I would overcome this, that I would be a person that would stand up and own grief and own depression and own the PTSD and own these things, own them so that way it doesn't own me. So it doesn't own me. And I think part of our issues when it comes to men's mental health is that we don't understand the value of a man. I'm going to say that again. And I know that it's not going to be very popular when we air this and people, start to look on it. I know people are going to have a difference of opinion. I welcome it. I welcome your difference of opinion. I really do. But I really firmly believe, generally, we do not understand the value of a man. A lot of times, and I'm going to, get to this. A lot of times what I do is that I go to a poem, and it's by Nikki Giovanni. And when I read this poem, it's always from a different perspective. Nikki Giovanni just happens to be one of the greatest writers of my time and before my time, and even after now that she's gone, I still, find myself going through her collection of poems for strength and just to overall say, there has to be power in the words. So the women gather because it's not unusual to seek comfort in hours of stress. A man must be buried. It is not unusual that the old bury the young, though it is an abomination. It is not strange that the unwise and the ungentle carry the banner of humaneness, though it be a castration of the spirit. It no longer shatters the intellect that those who make war call themselves diplomats. We are no longer surprised that the unfaithful pray loudest every Sunday in every church and sometimes in rooms facing east, though it be a sin and a shame. So how do we judge a man? Most of us love from our need to love, not because we find someone deserving. Most of us forgive because we have trespassed, not because we are magnanimous. Most of us comfort because we need comforting. Our ancient rituals demand that we give what we hope to receive. And how do we judge a man? We learn to greet when meeting, to cry when parting, and to soften our words at times of stress. The women gather with cloth and ointment, their busy hands, bowing to the laws that decree willows shall stand swaying but unbroken against the determined wind of death. We judge a man by his dreams, not alone his deeds. We judge a man by his intent, not alone his shortcomings. We judge a man because it is not unusual to know him through those who loved him. Let me say that again. We judge a man because it is not unusual to know him through those who loved him. The women gather strangers to each other because they have loved a man. And it is not unusual to sift through the ashes and find an unburnt picture. Now, when I read that poem, it's to talk about how, a man should be buried and some things that be said. So, but while that man is living, how are we judging our men? How are we in judging the importance of their value? See, we could talk all days and do the separation of the sexes and go through, well, the woman is there and everything, and a man must be this and everything. And I think that part of the mental trauma that a lot of men are going through is because we have been prioritized into positions of silence while we deal with the stress of life. And then when we go to talk about these things, it has been so stigmatized in the past. But I want to say thank you for a lot of folks this year with Men's Mental Health Month, because I think that there's been a broader understanding, a broader sense of compassion. There's been less criticism and sarcasm and just being, a troll about how men feel. I think that a lot of women have started to open themselves up because they're now experiencing trauma from their sons, where their sons are committing suicide, where their sons are going through mental health issues, and they now are starting to recognize that we have to recognize them while they're young, or we have to start doing things differently to stop exposing our young men to these early childhood traumas that are making them into individuals who cannot have conflict resolution with their fellow human being. So I do see the progress of Men's Mental Health Month. And again, this is my first time back at cmpradio.net. It's not my last one, but I'm just going to make sure that we set the ground rules running for the wonderful world of Rich Blye. Ground rules running is that anytime you need to call in, anytime that you want to talk about something, let me know, get your topic on hand. If you want to come and join us up here at cmpradio.net and sit in on the session, my spots are going to be Monday at 7. It'll probably get juggled around a little bit when football season starts, but we'll find out what's going on with that. But at any rate, I just want to make sure that the topics of discussion that we're talking about are relevant to Delaware County. It's not an outside thing. We are dealing with mental health. We are dealing with environmental changes, with different changes that are going on in our different areas. We are not separate. Chester's not separate from Brookhaven. Brookhaven is not separate from Ashton. Ashton is not separate from Lansdowne. Lansdowne is not separate from Upper Darby. We all have the same issues. We all have the same problems. What we're seeing, though, is that communities are stepping forward. Communities are stepping forward. Men and women who are just ordinary people are stepping forward to fill in these gaps, to take care of their own tribe, to take care of their own village, to take care of their own families, to take care of their own block. So I implore to you, as the non-expert, as an observer, as someone who walks this planet and loves the camaraderie of human interaction, please look at the example that Chester is providing. Don't sleep on Chester. And I'm in Upper Darby saying it because I wish that I could get even half of the type of support that Chester community has gotten for itself in the month of June. And now I'm not attacking anybody, but I'm saying plainly and honestly, there are organizations on this cmpradio.net banner that have not worked together before for whatever reason, but they worked together this year for one common goal: save the lives of these children by imposing a curfew. Thank you, City of Chester. Thank you, Mayor Stefan Roots, because a curfew is absolutely necessary. I've asked for and implored Upper Darby Township to do the same thing. Impose a curfew, please. Please impose a curfew. Get these kids off the street. There's nothing for these kids to be doing after 9 o'clock, 9:30 in the business district of these stores. Why are you sending your child to Wawa at 9 o'clock anyway? You haven't fed your kid at dinner at 7:30, 8 o'clock? Why are they out there that late? And I'm not talking about teenage kids. I'm talking about kids that are like 8, 9, 10. Okay? Everybody talks about the great era of when the street light came on, that you knew that you had to be home. So what happened to that great street light here in 2025, 2026, where the street lights are brighter? You know what I mean? There's still room for us to take advantage of the old morals and the old codes and enforce them with our children today. I want to say shout out to the Tiger Woods Foundation for allowing me to present Juneteenth at the Cobbs Creek Golf Complex, which is going to be a beautiful site. And I implore everyone from Delco that when they get this together to join up and partner with these folks, because they're going to do an incredible job out there. So Delco, they're not turning away anybody. They're building a Top Golf over there for all you enthusiasts. And I firmly believe that Upper Darby will be building a hotel in close proximity of this golf course, because if they don't, it'll be a failure to launch again, because everybody knows that if you are a golf enthusiast, if you play golf like you work, and I know a lot of golfers and have always known a lot of golfers, a golf enthusiast wants to be anywhere 15 minutes or less from a golf course. 15 minutes or less. So if you're not building a hotel, Upper Darby Township, I don't know what to tell you. You're going to miss out on the opportunity. Moving forward, folks, Fusion Fridays here in Chester, cmpradio.net. Please join up with my brother, Jean Pierre, and everyone that's on that banner, on that marquee. Support your community. Even if you donate $5, you're doing something. You can proudly go online and say, yeah, I had $5 to give. That $5, guess what? It goes far. It goes far. It goes far. It's not a small thing. People think that you got to donate oogles. I know people that said, listen, I got $2. Thank you for that $2. That bought a pack of napkins. You know what I'm saying? I had $2. You gave me $2. Now I got a case of water. So when and again, I want to say thank you for the people behind the scenes that give to these nonprofits, that don't accept the credit, that don't sit back and go, hey, I'm this, I'm that. Thank you, because I know a lot of you. I know a lot of you that have done that have dug in your pocket, or just came up and volunteered your time and didn't get in a photo op. You guys are the most important part of the community that I love. So hats off to you, Chester. I'm here to say this to Upper Darby Township, where I live, where I campaign. First of all, and I mean this from the heart, Chester has a lot of black men standing up. A lot of black men standing up. I've seen Mr. Tyrone Ricks, 10 of Life. How you doing? I've seen, Nate Jessup. I've seen Geo Stockman. I see Mr. Dakeem Williams. I see Nazir Leach. I see you, Mr. Corey Long. I see you, Lamont Harris. That's 7 black men right there that I named, that everybody knows in Chester, that have been moving and shaking in the past week, in the past 2 weeks. These are the people that you're supposed to support. These straight up dudes that get out there every time for you. There should be no hesitation when they come on and say, hey, it's a call to arms. Hey, we got a DEFCON 4 situation. It should be immediate when cmpradio.net says, hey, guys, we need to support our community. We need to be in the trenches for us here in Chester. There should never be any conflict with anybody saying anything, because you guys are great at it. You guys are great at it. What you have to get great at is understanding the people that represent you, though. You have to get better at understanding those who represent you, though, and stop taking them at face value and stop taking them at photo ops. Somebody has to go to these meetings, or you need to watch them on YouTube, so when you have questions, you can answer them. Don't wait just for the good times and the get-together times and the put-together times to find out what's going on in your community. They have emails that you can access, especially the state rep's office. Please contact them when you have questions. That way you don't have to rely on people doing podcasts, or you don't have to rely on people doing Zooms to explain stuff. You can find out the information for yourself. One of the great things that I see, and I'm just going to compare it to Chester, the Upper Darby Township, is that while we have a lot of nonprofit groups who are doing things individually, a lot of nonprofit groups that are working together out of necessity, we also have some nonprofits that are working with our government and are shunning us purposely on behalf of a government. Now, I'm not here to tell you what to do with your money, but there's no way that I'm going to allow people who I know that do not have the best interests of my people to walk around with impunity, like you're going to trick them and that's not going to be said anything about it. Case in point, everybody knows how I get down in Upper Darby. I hold my public officials accountable. I understand that they are Democrats and that they are friends of yours, or they're friends of somebody, or this, that, and the third. But I hold Democrats accountable just like I hold Republicans accountable. And you can ask any Republican, and they'll tell you, yeah, Rich will rip us a new asshole just like he'll rip the Democrats a new asshole. Yes, I will. Because you're not going to sit up here and play these games in our faces like we don't understand, or that we can't count money, or that we don't understand graphs or charts, or that we don't understand legalese, or that we don't have people on our side that are engineers, or that we don't have people on our side that do the jobs that you are doing right now, and that includes learning how to move a decimal point. Upper Darby Township has to get out of the political realm of helping. You have people in Upper Darby Township who refuse to work with viable nonprofits and other entities that want to do the work. Case in point, we have an American Legion. It says Upper Darby Township, it has Upper Darby American Legion Post 214. We had a heat wave last week, right? We were scrambling to put people in cool places and libraries and YMCAs and the Girls and Boys Clubs, wherever we could make sure that our elderly were safe and that kids were safe. And we saw it across the news where we saw fire companies come out and go out in their communities and turn on fire engine hoses and cool the people down. We saw water plugs. We saw fire plugs being opened up by fire departments and sprinklers being added, sprinklers attachments being added, and communities working together to make sure that no one suffered under this intense heat. What did Upper Darby do? Upper Darby lists Upper Darby Township approved cooling spots and then labeled the American Legion, the Upper Darby American Legion Post 214 as a non-Upper Darby sponsored spot. So Chester, when I come here, it's because it's friendly. It's because I know that I can move around, I could touch some grass around here, because I could be around people that have common sense about common sense issues. But where I'm at in Upper Darby Township, they don't want that. My mayor doesn't want that. Our council people, they don't want that. Our solicitors, they don't want that. The people who are administrators in Upper Darby Township don't want that. They do not want anybody working together unless they put their stamp on it. So this is why you don't see the great movements that you're seeing. This is why you start seeing Upper Darby in the news and it's not positive. This is why you only see when they show you as public officials what they're doing. They're not telling you that the American Legion Post opened up these doors in conjunction with Recovery Without Barriers, which is right now on 69th Street, handing out food and resources and supplies to the homeless at 69th Street. They don't want you to know about Recovery Without Barriers that's been around since 2018 and has gotten over 1,200 souls into treatment or rehab since 2018. They don't want to tell you how Recovery Without Barriers partnered with a veterans organization called Tailor Made Vets to not only help addicted people and unhoused people on the streets, but also to help those veterans that may have need addictive services that are on the streets, and to get them and shuttle them into the various programs that are specifically set up for them. They don't want to talk about how we partner with Breaking Bread, how we've partnered with Grand Stepping Up, how we've partnered with Harry's Helping Hands, how we've partnered with so many different various nonprofits in Upper Darby Township in the spirit of community. But because of politics, people have to separate themselves, because why? If you don't play the political game in Upper Darby Township, they don't give you any funding. We just had a meeting this past Thursday about the community block grant. Did you guys hear about your community block grant? Because I saw your community block grant, Chester. I saw where your money's going. In our community block grant, there's about 4 nonprofits that are receiving money. And guess who ain't on it? These folks have got everybody all gassed about what they're really doing. But then when it comes out and when we read the names, it's friend of the Democratic Party, friend of Delaware County Council, friend of the mayor, friend of this guy. It's all friendship. It's all, and it's right there in your face. And then they go, like my friend from Recovery Without Barriers, Paul Ann Sabatino, and her organization, Recovery Without Barriers, did apply for the community block grant. You know what they got told? Oh, you were 5 minutes late for sending it in. Can I tell you something else? They pulled that same jazz with tailor-made vets and said that we didn't give them a copy sheet for when we applied for the community block grant. So it's always some political nonsense. It's always some political irrelevance. And like I said, I'm not harping on independent Upper Darby Township nonprofits because they do an excellent job. And I have relied on many, many, many folks from the various nonprofits in Upper Darby Township, and I love you guys. But then we got some that are playing the political game, and they know it, and then they come around you, and they go, "Hi, Rich." Why are you going to do that? Why are you going to play a game with me when I know about the money? Why are you going to play a game with me when I know the truth of why you're getting the money? And I think that that's why people avoid me, because they know that they can't come over and glad hand me and smile in my face and pretend that you are my friend when I'm watching you steal or I'm watching you not provide for other folks in Upper Darby Township that can meet folks with boots on the ground or meet people where they are. Case in point, Upper Darby Township held a celebration for Juneteenth, the first one after I said 5 years ago that they were going to do it. Shout out to Upper Darby Township. Upper Darby Township, I give you a B+ on your first event, a B+. A B+. Upper Darby Township for next year, I'm going to tell you like this. You need to have a conversation with me. You need to be willing and open to have this conversation with me so you can have a successful celebration for 2026. Upper Darby Township, you don't have to include me in it, but I don't want you to look like garbage for 2026 if you decide to celebrate again. So if anybody shares this podcast with any of the leadership of Upper Darby Township or their Juneteenth committee, I am publicly announcing that I am willing to sit down with you and go over some parameters and aspects of what we can do together to make this celebration come to fruition, and so you can improve on the model that you did. But again, it's all about working together. It's all about working together. You cannot exclude one group of people when everybody in the township knows that the group of people that you're excluding is doing the work that you're supposed to pay for. In Upper Darby Township and in many counties around the township in the state of Pennsylvania, there are laws and provisions that if your American Legion post or if your VFW post has meetings, or if they provide services to a township, to a city, the city can reimburse them for services. The city or the township can provide money for these American Legions and these VFWs. But because a township like Upper Darby Township does not currently value veteran service, because they do not value the post service of veterans, because they do not value the places that veterans stay at or need to go to other than the local neighborhood bars. Upper Darby Township is ranked dead last when it comes to its veterans. Dead last. Upper Darby offers zero support to its veterans. Zero. Upper Darby Township has nothing in place continuously year-round for services to its veteran population. Go look at our numbers. The veterans population is dwindling between two factors. Veterans are not coming into Upper Darby to live. Veterans who live here are either leaving through relocation or, unfortunately, their untimely deaths. I'm all for what everybody else wants. I'm not against for what everybody else wants. But the one thing that I want to end this conversation with is that Memorial Day is just not Memorial Day. Veterans Day is not Veterans Day. And Men's Mental Health Day is just not Men's Mental Health Day or month. These things are year round, and they are synonymous together. And if you can find it in your heart and find it in your mind to recognize someone greater than yourself and see from their point of view, maybe even just once, it could possibly help make you a better person. It could possibly change your mind. One of the things about men's mental health and dealing with this situation, with the death of loved ones, is that it opens up your eyes. It makes you see things, in full color, and there's no shades of gray anymore. For me, there is no, there's no benefit of doubt for me. That's what it causes. But there is strength to be gathered. Find your happy place. Surround yourself with positive messages daily. I got a list of 10 things on my refrigerator that I read. Like I said, before I put a morsel of meal in my mouth and I say my prayers and I read my scriptures and I read my 10 points that I must do for myself every single day. And the top one is I must love myself more than anything else. That is the top priority for me. Not a selfish, narcissistic love. A love of life, a love of beauty, a love of finding something that makes life enjoyable. I can find anything negative. I can always turn on a TV and get hit with negativity first thing in the morning with the news. That's why I don't watch the news, because I'm not going to hit with negative. I'm not going to turn on TV. What's going on in the world? Thank you, Lord, for waking me this morning. I appreciate that. Thank you for the breath of life. Thank you for giving me, my mental health. Thank you for keeping me safe throughout my slumber. Amen. Then I read the word because I nourish my soul first, so that way I can take in these proper nutrients from my body to balance it out. Then I go out and I exercise for 15 minutes. 15 minutes, that's all I do. I don't do much. I do some stretching, I do some calisthenics, I do some sit-ups, I do some push-ups, whatever, blah, blah, blah. I take my shoes off and I walk in the grass. I re-energize with the magnetic core of this earth and polarize myself and reach my hands out to heavens, and I stretch my fingers as far as I can and receive the energy that this planet has to offer. I'm not saying that result will work for you. That result works for me. Because one of the things that I've learned in mental health, for Men's Mental Health Month, is that, yes, there are a lot of men that have made mistakes and did not receive the help that they should have received. And I look at those mistakes, unfortunately. I do look at the mistakes of others. And I've made a firm decision that the same mistakes that people have made with their mental health, I refuse to walk down those dark alleys and do the same thing. That is my motivation. That is part of my motivation, to not fall into those traps, to consciously call it into being. Your strength is calling it into being. Ownership of your grief is you own it. Grief does not own you. Grief is going to be there. Grief is going to eat with you. Grief is going to sleep with you. Grief is going to turn the light on. Grief is going to turn the light off. Sometimes grief is going to make that sun be blocked. I make a lot of posts now that the sun came out, because I'm a creature of the earth, and I know that my power comes from the sun. I know how to energize myself. I'm a firm believer in energizing my melanin. A firm believer in it. That's why I get real black in the summer, because I get all the way out there, baby. I really do. You have to find that place in your center, and you have to fucking fight. That's what I'm telling you. For Men's Mental Health Month, you cannot quit. You cannot quit. You will You will use positive language to motivate yourself. You will do it. I'm not here saying you can do it or you should try. I'm saying to all men, you will do it because it's in you. It's in you. Now, do you have those moments and those times where you feel like crying like a baby? Absolutely. Go ahead and do it. You hear me? I'm one of the manliest men you could ever meet, I promise you. Some might even say chauvinistic with some of the things that I think. I don't care. I'm a man. But I can cry, and I have. And where I've gotten it to is that I get it out of the way. First thing in the morning. When I have that feeling of grief, when I have that feeling of, something's just not settling right with my soul or my spirit, I don't deny it. I sit in a dark room, I open up my word, and I let it go. And I mean, I let it go. So that underwhelming feeling, and when those tears start falling, and that uneasiness, and your chest is heaving, and you don't know why, I don't even fight it no more. Because I know that it's going to be a part of me. But what I have in front of me, my word of God, what I have in front of me, pictures of my children, what I have in front of me, the commitments of my friends that have urged me on and said, Rich Blye, I'm here for you, bro. When I get those texts, when I get those private messages, when I get those above screen pokes on my Facebook and my Instagram that says, I'm motivated by you, Rich Blye, keep going. That's what I need. And that's what I take. I take what is useful, like Bruce Lee said. I take what is useful. And then when I get those nuggets, thank you, Jean-Pierre, too, for the years of supporting me. When I take those nuggets, it re-energizes me. And I fight. I'm not saying that I don't go through grief, that I don't suffer. I absolutely do. And it fucking hurts. Excuse my French. It does. It hurts. It hurts like a son of a bitch. But I've already made up inside of my mind and in my heart to commit myself to fight this depression, to fight this post-traumatic stress, to fight this grief, not from a point of weakness. Hey, grief, how you doing? Let me squeeze your hand. Let me show you who the boss is. Hey, depression, how you doing? Look, I know you're going to be around for a while. Take your shoes off because we're going to get settled. Hey, post-traumatic stress, you and me going to sit in a quiet corner somewhere so we don't break nothing. Because when I'm going through post-traumatic stress, I need to go to a room so we don't break nothing. Okay? And I take myself out of the equation of the human existence to get my mind and my body right and get my spirit right. And then once I do that, I bring myself back into the world. Understand this. I bring myself back. That's why I'm back here at cmpradio.net, because I'm here to talk about that journey. I'm here to give some pointers. I'm here to talk about getting anger management underneath your belt, men. Go to these classes. Go take them. Go to these anger management classes. Go take them. You will be surprised how much better you can deal with your other half. You'll be so much surprised of how you can handle your children. You'll be so much more surprised by understanding that anger is an emotion as a part of all of us, but you can control your anger. You can control these things. I've made it a conscious decision that I would control these things without the benefit of any pharmaceuticals. I know a lot of folks that need pharmaceuticals because of an imbalance. Everybody's different. Don't get me wrong. I'm not here advocating, you better not take no pills for your mental. Man, if you got to take a pill, you got to take a pill. Okay, I get that, for real. I really do. There are some people out here that have to take a pill because they don't have some of the things that most people have. But don't get addicted to it. And if you need to get low dosages, talk to your psychologist, psychiatrist, talk to your prescribing doctor, tell them how things make you feel loopy or that things don't make you centered. Talk to them. Just don't take the pill and thinking that because the doctor prescribed it or because a psychologist or psychiatrist prescribed it that they know. You're going to know through your daily activities, through your mental health, what's good for you. You have to take ownership of your mental health. You cannot give it to anyone else. No one's coming to save you with your mental health. You have to decide for yourself, with help, with therapy, with medication, with family support, with all those things. All those things go into it. So I'm not going to tell you where you got to go. I'm telling you have to do it. There have been experts here on cmpradio.net that you can go back to previous episodes and you can give them a call. You can hit their emails up. Go and talk to them. When you talk to me, I am not an expert. I am giving the benefit of my environment and my experience as it relates to these situations. I am not an expert. I'm not the PhD. So please don't say, hey, yeah, that boy Rich Blye said I got to do this. No, I'm telling you what worked for me and how I'm with my personal battle and my personal struggle. I read a lot of books, folks. I read a lot of books. I find power in words. And there's also a person that I really want to shout out that came up on the top of my podcast. There's a guy, and I'm really trying to get him up here, Jump here. I really want this guy to know. And you know what? Fuck it. I'm going to say it. So before my son died, before my son was murdered, he told me how he knew who he was, that he had an argument with some boys and everything about what Juneteenth is and everything. And he called me to specifically say, Dad, man, these goofballs out here, they don't even know what Juneteenth is, man. And I said, yeah. He's like, man, I had to tell him. I said, well, what did you tell him? So the next half hour, I sat there and listened to my son run down Juneteenth. I sat there and I listened to him. All the years that I was talking about Juneteenth, when I got started in 2018 and I was talking to this particular child, I really thought that he didn't pay me no mind. And I realized that he was actually proud of me. Because for him to say, you don't know what you're talking about, let me tell you, my dad was the first things out of his mouth. My dad, and ran it down. And he said, Dad, at the end, I know who I am. So even though my son is gone, I take great pleasure in knowing that I was able to reach him in a way that I may not have been able to reach any of my other children or reach any other person. I take solace in that fact of knowing that I had a teachable moment with my child before their time expired on this planet, and that I did have a connection with my son. Make these connections with your children. Go turn them games off. Go turn that TV off. Take them outside. Go get an ice cream cone. Go get a water ice. Make these connections with your children. Get off these devices. I mean, really, get off of them. Get off of them. Go get a Connect 4 game. I'm dead serious. I promise you that you can get at least 15 good minutes with your child with a Connect 4 game. The easiest game in the world to do. Tic-tac-toe. 4 in a row. And these kids will have fun with you. When my grandchildren come and visit me, I don't turn the TV on. They watch TV at home. They get enough of that. They get enough of that crap. I turn on some music. I turn on the oldies. I change the spirit. I do.
Absolutely.
I change the spirit. I get them off of that megahertz that they get bombarded with constantly. And I put them on a wavelength that goes back to the 30s, 40s, 50s, and the 60s. When they're at my house, my grandchildren, they'll tell you. They love coming to me, but they don't really want to stay because they're going to learn something, because Pop-Pop's going to put a book in their hand. Because Pop-Pop's going to put a coloring book of relevance that teaches about their history in their hand. Because I'm going to take an hour out of that time and keep the TV off and keep that and keep the internet off, because it's easy to turn the internet off in my house. turn that Wi-Fi off. Oh, you got to listen to me. Why? Because when I was growing up, we were made to sit at the feet of our ancestors. Part of the reason why we have these mental health things is because we don't know the history of our immediate ancestors, our grandparents. We don't know the trauma that they went through that's been passed down generationally because we understand generational trauma. So until we get to have what cmpradio.net is having, these uncomfortable conversations, we're going to continue down these paths of making excuses for things that are conquerable. Grief is conquerable. It's just going to stay with you like luggage. Depression is conquerable. You just have to, be your friend to depression. I'm not making a joke of it. I'm really serious. In order for me to function, for me, I had to befriend it and say, hey, look here, man. Now, you can't keep dragging us down this road like this, man. Like, what part you going to give up? Because I'm trying to be happy today. And I'm talking within myself, but I'm really talking to that element that's really trying to push itself to the surface and take over my personality for today. So I address it for what it is. Hey, depression, you're going to have to sit down for a minute, bro. Okay? You really, you're going to have to sit down today because I got things to do. It's even hard sometimes, like today, bro, I'm going to tell you. You know how hard today was? Today was absolutely hard. And there are times that I really have to just sit for hours. And I never thought that I would be the person to stand up and say, oh, I'm depressed. Oh, I suffer from post-traumatic stress for the deaths of my family. Oh, I never thought I would be that guy. But here I am. So what am I going to do about it? I'm not going to sit in silence like they keep saying, that folks who go through these mental health traumas, you got to sit through silence. You got to man up. You know what I mean? You got to be a man up. Or like my boy Will Taylor says, go to the gym. Shout out to my boy Will Taylor. Shout out to my boy Marlon Carr. Way to come back to Facebook, meatball. Disappearing on people. I'm gonna tell y'all something. For all of those that know Marlon, let me tell you how I really got to Chester. Chester, Marlon Carr is the reason why I love Chester. Marlon Carr took me into the Bennett. I'm talking about the back of the day Bennett, bro. Mm-hmm. Okay, back in the day Bennett, you need an escort. Back in the day Bennett, you still to this day, if you ain't known, don't go there. Mm-mm. You ain't coming out alive and you ain't coming out clean. Okay? Listen, it's just like that. But because of his introduction, because he put me in front of people that he knew for whatever reason, you know what I mean? I still have those friendships to today. And that's because of, my man Marlon. You know what I mean? Shout out to my guy. That's my guy. Mr. Martinez Hartley, when I see what you're doing with your son Makai, when I see what you're doing with your family and everything like that, I know I'll bust your stones, bro, but I'm actually impressed with you, with what you do and how you're documenting, what you're doing as a father with your son. These things are important, and these are the things that we all need to see locally. It's not a thing where you showing off something or you trying to make You're showing your son's progression who wants to be somebody. And you're using it in a documentary form to help motivate other people to do the same thing. So I'm impressed with that, bro, and I'm just going to give you a shout-out on there. Vern Sweat, a swig. A Vern, a swig. Long live Quan, bro. Long live the Quan. Long live the Quan. This is a brother that gets up every morning and has an inspirational post every single morning where this man exposes the truth of himself and still finds the motivation after the death of his son. And when I see that, I get motivated. I'm like, damn, here's a guy who lost his son before I lost my son, and he's still getting up, and he's still going out there and doing it. He ain't making no excuses. He not quitting. He not quitting. And people still inspired by what he does. So people still inspired by his personality. I can emulate that. I'm not jealous of that. I can emulate that. I can take from what he has and say, is that the spirit that I need to have, bro? All right, I'm gonna get that too. Let me get some of that spirit. Not how you do it, not the way you doing it, not crawling up your back and trying to take your spotlight. Damn, that's the example. Let me take some of that. Let me take some of that example. I take example from a lot of strong men. I take examples from a lot of strong women. I take examples from people and I add it to my life and I add it to my collective because it's only going to make me better. I ignore ignorance. I ignore all of the emotion. Listen, the emotional train, I don't ride that. If you got to explain to me something that's going to take 15 minutes when I can look at it and have the solution for you in 15 seconds, I'm not wasting my time. I'm not doing that no more. Bryce, when I was in corporate management, bro, I was told, Rich Blye, you got to sit down and you got to listen to the people while they vent their problem. And I used to say to my regional, the problem is the food and time of service. If they give me 5 minutes, I can have it fixed and they ain't got to complain about nothing.
Right.
He says, no, Rich, you need to understand. People have to vent. They have to tell you why they're upset. They have to tell you why this made them upset. And you might hear about what happened in their day. And as a manager, you have to take it. You know what I said to my regional?
What?
Bullshit. And I'm dead serious. That was the secret to my success. I would come to your table. Hi, how you doing? My name is Rich. I'm the manager here. And how can I be of assistance? Well, my food, this. As soon as they got finished telling me what the problem is with the food,
right.
I said, excuse me, man. Hey, listen, I don't mean to cut you off, but if you allow me 5 minutes, I'm going to have this out here for you. Can you give me 5 minutes? Right, hold on. Can you give me 5 minutes, right? Now watch this. As soon as they say yes, I walk away. I don't say nothing else. I walk away. Now, because the server, because of the way I trained them, already told me what was wrong with the food at the table. So I've already been in the kitchen, instructed my line cook to get me another steak, to get me another plate set up, to have everything ready for me for 5 minutes. So I go to the back. By the time I turn around and walk through the first door, I'm reaching for a plate of hot food the way that the guests want it. And I'm going in and I'm putting that new plate in front of them. And I'm saying, how about that? And they cut into it and they eat their food. And they say, oh, this is so beautiful. Now they done forgot about the problem. Because now you're fixing the problem without having to deal with the emotional value that people put on it. Don't come to me if you have a problem expecting me to help you to fix it by attaching your emotional attachment to it. I'm not attached to the emotional part of your problem. I'm here to help you solve it. I'm here to help be a part of it. I'm here to help blah, blah, blah. I don't need to hear you crying. I don't need to hear you bitching and moaning. I don't need that. If I come to you to help fix your problem, tell me what the problem is so I can tell you what part I can do, or I'll just fix it in its entirety, and then we could talk about it, how it made you feel after the problem's fixed. I could take it then. But I don't want it during the process. And one more thing, too. When you need me, don't make me the last option. Don't call me up at the last minute to fill in the blank for somebody else.
When they're calling you at the last minute, they're calling you because they know you're going to show up.
Yeah, they know you're going to show up, bro.
But, I mean, you show up and you show out. That's what you do, right? So they're not going to call you first.
Yeah, but see, what I mean is don't call me last minute. Don't call me because something fell through for you and I have to come in and you know that I'm going to put that cape on, okay? We're not doing that anymore, okay? If there's an event that you have and you need me to be there, say, hey, Rich, I may need you to participate for something or whatever coming up in the future. I'm not certain, blah, 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 but can you hold this date? Sure. What I don't want to do is that something fell through for you and you need to fill a spot, so you want to call on old reliable to be there. Not anymore. We have to change the dynamic of how you treat us. We have to deal with you with points of strength now. We have to deal with you in the same type of energy that you have dealt with us. If you have not kicked in, why are we kicking in with you? See, we've had our butts kicked. We've been one-legged men in the ass-kicking contest, okay? We've had our hands tied behind our back, blindfolded the whole time. Now that we're coming out of these periods of darkness and people are starting to see the alignment of strong black men together, not just black men, but black communities, not just black communities, but communities as a whole, as they're starting to see this strong American value that we all have, we're no longer accepting the way that you have treated us. This is part of men's mental health. We no longer find it acceptable for you to not have value in us. We no longer find it acceptable that you can overlook us or not give us the benefit of the doubt in situations that you give superstars and mega movie stars. We no longer find it acceptable that you feed us our plates last. We've worked too hard to put that food on the table. And we should have at least the benefit of, hey, babe, would you like your plate first or you want me to feed the kids?
Right.
Okay? That should be a questionable option. I know a lot of you ladies are going to be upset with that. I don't care. You know why I don't care? Because I had two grandparents that fed my grandfathers first. I had that example in my household, and I never saw none of these men tip out. I saw men who had peace of mind in their home. We were made to shut up and go to sleep at a time when they came home to give them peace of mind in their castle. This is that post that went up today. Women, what can you give a man to keep him from being with another woman? And all down the line on that post, I saw nothing. If he gonna tip out, he just gonna tip out. Nobody said be his peace. Every man, I promise you, in any relationship, the one thing that they want from their woman or their significant other is peace of mind when they come home. They do not want, oh, the kids did this all day as soon as you walk in the door. They just got finished dealing with a whole bunch of kids. They do not want, oh, the bill man called, da-da-da-da-da-da. We know the bill man called. We know that because, you know, what's coming out of that direct pay. We know about all about that, okay? What you need to do is give that man a good 30 minutes of time when he walks in the door of decompression. Let him go upstairs and let him take his shoes off at the door and let him go upstairs and just sit on the edge of the bed for a minute. Have his favorite drink. It's enough in these women talking about, submissive. Damn, you can't get this man nothing to drink? When he walk in the door after working a 10-hour shift, you can't be woman enough. You done fed these kids and gave them drinks and give them, here, take this juice box and da-da-da-da. You done did that for them. You mean to tell me that your man ain't worth a cold alcoholic or liquid beverage when he walks in the door? See, there are small things, women, that you can do to help your man's mental health. Every man wants to feel valued. They want to feel appreciated. They want to feel valued. And don't say, oh, I love my husband. He know it. Does he? No, I'm serious. Does he? Because when I see these men talking above board on Facebook, I know they got relationships, but I guarantee you ain't none of them talking like they got a relationship. They talking like, man, you see how scandalous these women is? And I know that these men got women. But that means that woman is not valuing him. They're valuing what he does. They're valuing what you bring to the table. I hate that term. What do you bring to the table? Me, bitch. Excuse my French. Me, dude. I'm bringing me. I'm bringing everything to the table. I'm bringing my money. I'm bringing my value. I'm bringing my experience. What I'm not trying to do is come into a situation where you're going to take advantage of that and cause me more drama. But that's what happens, men. You get into situations because you don't know who's standing in front of you. That's an important key to your mental health. Know who's standing in front of you. Know the personality. Know the chemical and mental health mixture of the person in front of you. Some of these girls and guys out here are bed bug shot out, crash outs, who did not have the benefit of therapy or have the benefit of a family member to help them in situations to get them the help that they need. And we're allowing ourselves to lay down physically and have these metaphysical transformative liaisons that turn into human beings. And now that this person has the spirit of somebody who has trauma along with your trauma, and you're wondering why they're messed up. Yes, you need to do a background check on people nowadays, bro. You got to. Yes, you do. You need to know. Remember how we used to ask Jay, will your mama stay? Will your pop stay? Will your family stay? Will your people stay? Mm-hmm. There was a reason why we asked for that back in the day. We needed to know who you belonged to. Did you come from the crazy family down the street around the block? Did you come from the family that deals drugs? Did you come from the family that's shot out, that does the robberies in the neighborhood? Like, we had families that lived like that. There were certain families that you knew that if it was a robbery in the neighborhood, it was those motherfuckers, because that's what they did. Okay, they robbed you. And they came in the neighborhood and people knew it. We knew who the family was that sold the drugs on the block. We knew the family. So why are we now not policing ourselves and our children? I had somebody tell me one time about the fact that I shouldn't be all up in my daughter's business when it comes to the men and the significant others that they may date or whatever. And I had to tell them that my daughters understand one thing and one thing only. You better not hide a man on me. You bet not hide a man on me. And why do I say this, ladies and gents? Because I'm from the 60s and 70s. I grew up in the 80s. I played in the 90s. I know what's real. I'm from Philly originally, grew up in Brickyard. Cut my teeth out in Southwest Philly. Went away for a little bit, you know what I'm saying? Came back home and ran the streets of Philly. The people that I've associated with, people I've been connected to, stone cold gangster slug killers. Not me, but them, definitely. I learned my place and I learned my way from the streets. I knew who to play with. I knew who not to play with. That's the most important thing that goes on today. People don't know who's in front of them. You got to know who not to play with. You got to know not to drop names, or not to, do I know you from somewhere when you don't know somebody, because, that's part of trauma too. Most people have come from places where people have said that, and it just triggers them. You have to be more acute and mentally aware of the fact that sometimes you do need to watch what you say to people. But more importantly, the biggest part of what I want you to take away from Men's Mental Health Month on its last day for this month, but it's going to continue forever here at cmpradio.net. The one thing I want you to take away from this is that the greatest of these things is love. Love does conquer all. Love does achieve great things, but you have to be honest and earnest with your love. You have to put aside all political factions and just be a good human being. You have to put aside all the brands and the titles and just be a good human being. We can work together, Democrats. We can work together, Republicans. We can work together, independents. We can work together, Christians. We can work together, Muslims. We can work together, Hindus. We can work together, Buddhists. We can work together, atheists. We can work together, agnostics. We can work together, Jehovah's Witnesses. You have to put it to the side. You have to decide that the gift that we have from God, from our creating, from our human spirit, from the spirit of the universe, is that we're all human. And you have to be willing to do it. I can tell you right now, I my American Legion, the people that I'm allied with, we have no ego. We are willing to work with anybody as long as it's about taking care of the human condition and the success of the future of our human beings together. That is the mandate. This has been the wonderful world of Rich Blye. I'll see you guys next week at 7.